Great. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, very well.
Great. So this is just the agenda for today. So we're just going to do a quick overview of the dark web and why we decided to work on a tool for partners. We'll kind of highlight a little bit of the current issues and then how this can represent a really great sales tool for partners so that they can leverage on awareness about the dark web and then also the solutions that they can enable to protect their businesses and their employees. We'll do a quick introduction of the cloud feature, just showing you the two types of views for subscribers and service providers. And then we'll do the live demo. Thank you, Fabio, for joining. I know this week is his week off, so he's been doing training all week long. So thank you for giving us your time during your vacation time. And then once Fabio ends the live demo, I wanted to cover some of the selling strategies that we have sort of like identified that can be shared with partners so that they know how to use the tool. And then, as closing remarks, we will do a quick overview of important reminders, FAQ, and I'll have more details to share about the FAQ when we get there. And then I'll share the list of the partner resources that we are planning on having available after August 27th. And then, quickly, before I move on, the other thing is, so we are on track to launch the dark web scan tomorrow. So you will see a live wire post and a product blog posted after we go live tomorrow. So yay, good news. So, as you guys are, I'm sure you're super familiar with the dark web. It's a collection of anonymous websites that are publicly available, but they hide the IP addresses, so it's really impossible for users to identify who owns that or who hosts that website. But it's become a terrible black marketplace for vulnerable information that is made available and after data breaches, and then it only creates further and further cybersecurity threats. And here, just on this slide, just a couple of recent news articles of how those threats continue to become, a huge risk for businesses. With this new tool, partners are going to be able to perform searches based on their email addresses and company domains. So they'll be able to understand if their information has been involved in recent data breaches, and then ideally take action based on that level of awareness. And so you may be familiar with other types of similar services like Have I Been Pawned or Spy Cloud, which are common sources on the market that people go to try to get this type of information. So it's only getting more expensive. The price of stolen data on the dark web, and I'm sure you've seen how the pandemic is not helping decrease those type of threats. And when company credentials are stolen by a hacker, then the chances of that information ending up on the dark web is really high. And so it creates even greater vulnerabilities like the ones highlighted on this slide, right? So installing malware, stealing customer and employee information, transferring funds, and so on. So can solution providers save the day, right? The dark web scan is a great tool that will allow partners to generate and send personalized reports. So this can be, at the very least, a great conversation starter with customers, with both existing customers and potential customers, about the importance of identity and credential theft protection, right? And so here are just some really great arguments that we can use internally to get our partners more engaged with the tool. But I think also they will become a resource for partners as they go out, to have conversations with potential customers about everything that can be included in their security solutions when it comes to WatchGuard. And then obviously, I think the broader understanding is that this is part of our WatchGuard cloud. So like it allows us to use that unified security platform message, but specifically with AuthPoint, that's like, right, like the closest product that helps address these specific threats. So the dark web scan, like we said, it's a WatchGuard Cloud feature, and then currently it's available for both subscribers and service providers. Subscribers will be able to scan any email address, and at the same time they can also scan company domains associated with their user account. On the other hand, service providers, as you can see, will have a little more capabilities with the tool. They can scan any email address. They can scan any company domain except for public ones, such as the ones listed on the slide. And they also will have the opportunity to send those personalized reports to authorized admins and users. And I want to pause here for a moment before Fabio starts the live demo. We definitely want, so pay attention when Fabio is going through the screen where you can search for a domain and send the report. As you know, the reason for the delay has been ongoing and very long-lasting discussions with the legal team, because these represents some compliance risks for WatchGuard based on the use of the personal information that we hold, right? So that's why we had to basically include a step that I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty complicated step, because it's not as simple as just I'm going to search for a domain, load my results, and then send my users a personalized dark web report. It's actually, there's this verification step that involves the IT admin from that company agreeing and authorizing the use and the delivery of the report. So, once we have this demo, I am happy to do follow-ups. We will have resources so you guys can review the process. But please add your questions to the chat box, or feel free to interrupt us, so that I want to make sure that that step is very clear for you guys, so that when you're talking to partners, if they need help sort of like discussing this further so they can understand how it works, we are all on the same page. And with that, Fabio, I'm going to give you presenter rights in case, do you have them? Are you as an organizer, or I can't remember.
Okay, let me see here.
Let me
I think you need to give me.
Yep. Comment right up. There you go.
Okay. Okay, let me close this one. And increase a little bit the zone here. Okay, do you see one?
Yep, we can see. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just keeping looking up here, so it's my second monitor is on the upper, so don't bother if I'm looking up on the monitor. So be free to interrupt me at any time if you have questions or if I'm not explaining very well. So basically, I'm gonna go through the flows for this service provider account. The flow is pretty much the same between a subscriber and a service provider. So the only difference, like Sam mentioned, is that if you're a subscriber, you can only search your own domain. You're not allowed to search different domains. But if you're a service provider, the goal is actually to use this tool, like Sam mentioned, as a sales tool, and you can take a conversation with a prospect or a customer or a partner and show results for their own domains. So it's a very interesting to engage the conversation. So as you log in into your service provider account, we have two ways to access the tool. In this first screen, that after you log in, it's a dashboard, and there is a new widget here that you can directly type your email or domain here. Or if you go to the administration part, where you have the options for the license, the access, beta features, you have here also the dark web scan. So if you click here, it goes to the page to allow the searches. So have both ways. but the easiest way is just log in, and here on the dashboard, you just type the domain or the personal email that you want to search for. So let's just start with a personal email. Let's use my own email here, fmansur@yahoo.com. Like Sam mentioned, we do not allow domains like yahoo.com or gmail.com to be searched, but individual emails belonging to these domains, it's okay. And then here you see that for my own email here, fmansur@yahoo.com, we see 4 breaches. And here we have a description, a brief description of each breach, the date when it happened, and that's it. So when I do a search for an individual email, I have the option to send the email with the report attached only to the email that was actually searched. So I can only send this report to this email, fmansur@yahoo.com, and I have the option to send a report like it shows here on the screen with just the breach, or I can include part of the passwords that were found on the breach. So we don't store the full passwords, and we don't show the complete passwords because this could be used by someone, but we show the first 4 digits of the password, and this helps to give an idea for the user if that password was used for other services or for other accounts, and it's interesting. So the flow, when we search for the individual email, we always send an authorization request for the email, and then after you receive the authorization request and accept that request, you can receive the email with the PDF attached. Okay, let's see this happening. So I'm gonna click here on send. There was some issue here. Oh, I'm on QA environment and I have some cache stuff here. Let me close the browser and open here again. Sorry. I was doing tests in different environments, so it keeps cache from production, staging, things like that. So let's go to the QA. Cloud. And it's so good to do this demo with a couple of minutes available, because in the FireSync you have like 6 minutes to do the demo, and just really.
I know. Take your time. We have 40 minutes.
So let me. So again, I just logged in to my service provider account. Then I'm gonna do my search here. Then I see the results here, and then I'm gonna send the report to my fmansur@yahoo email. Now it works. It's just a matter of browser caching, things like that. This Windows will pop up because I'm doing tests with SaferPass, and it's nice for you to know that we are working with SaferPass. They're probably going to work with them as a password manager to be integrated to AuthPoint. So it's going to be a really nice add-on tool to manage password and things like that. So
this is a teaser for something coming in 2021.
Yeah.
Nice job, Bobby.
It will come. I'm just opening separated here my email account. So I send my email to yahoo.com. Let me open the browser here. It was open here. Now I got here in my Yahoo email, my request. And it's an interesting thing. For example, in my Yahoo email, this email account, I have a push notification. It's not AuthPoint, but it has 2FA enabled for the Yahoo account. And last week, by coincidence, I received a push out of nowhere from, I don't remember the country, it's a country in Europe, someone trying to log in to my account. So I received a push and I say, hey, it's not me. So I deny the push and I immediately change the password of my Yahoo email. So it's interesting. Now, I received the email with a request or the confirmation that I want to receive the report. So I have a link here that if I click, I will go to a page and I will confirm to receive the email with the PDF attached. And I have also the link to the FAQ. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that later. So if I click here, it opens a page. This link is valid for 1 hour. So after 1 hour, this page will expire and is not available anymore. So someone doesn't have access to it after some time for security reasons. Then I confirm here, and then I actually will receive the report attached after I confirmed. Now, if I wait here for the second email, I'm gonna receive it quickly. Here, I already got here. So my personalized dark web scan report. There is a link here for talking a little bit about off point, and here the PDF attached. I have the report. This logo here is uses the branding, the same branding that we have for the Firebox reports. So if the account is branded, the logo of the account will appear here. It doesn't appear on the emails yet, but on the PDF report, it's shown. Okay, so it has a brief description of the report and the summary here that I had 4 data breaches and 6 passwords have been compromised. Now I have here the same information I had on the UI, a list of the breaches and a small description for each one. And here's the interesting part. The passwords that were compromised, that were found on the breach, like I said, we don't show the whole password. But for example, this one here was a password that I know that I used to use, and I actually used to use it for different accounts. So I don't do that anymore. I learned. Otherwise, Alex will cut my bonus if I do it. And I use password manager tools now. So, but this is interesting. I say, okay, it's a breach that occurred like 2 years ago, for example, but I still use this password for other accounts. So it's a really interesting warning for the user for that. Okay. So this is the flow for when I search for a specific email. Okay. Now the flow for the domain is a little bit different, but the idea is the same. We do a search for the domain, we have an authorization, and we then after the authorization we will send a report. But the authorization process is a little bit different. So let's see if I'm a service provider talking to a prospect. An interesting case here is Sony.com. Sony.com has a lot of accounts breached, like 2,500 accounts. And the interesting part is that they have a very recent one in April this year and another one in January. So it's interesting to see, okay, 6 months ago, I searched for my breach. There was no breach. I was safe. Okay, nice. But if it was like 6 months ago or 4 months ago, there is a breach here in April, and probably May or June something is gonna show up again. And so it's not like, okay, I did this search a couple of months ago, so I'm safe. No, it's not. You're not. Breach happens every day, and you really don't know when you're gonna be part of these breaches or not. Okay. So if I search here for Sony.com, I can only send this report to someone that belongs to the domain. So I'm not allowed to send to my WatchGuard.com email this report. So I need to, sorry, let me disable this. We just allow it to, the authorization. So like I said, we have 2 steps. One step is the authorization, and the other steps after authorization is to actually receive the PDF report attached. In the case of the domain, the authorization must be provided by someone that is responsible for the domain. We're talking about sensitive information here, the emails, and we have a lot of concerns about privacy, GDPR, and stuff like that. And that's why it took months to discuss with the lawyers how to deal with this kind of stuff. So like Sam mentioned, it seems a little bit, a flow that's a little bit complicated in the beginning, but it's to cover us in all these legal aspects that were discussed for months, okay? So we consider that someone that has access to one of these 4 emails, security or webmaster or postmaster or hostmaster, is the owner of the domain or has the administrative privileges of the domain. So they are allowed to authorize someone to receive this report, okay? So we need to send authorization request to one of these emails, and we can send the final PDF report after this is authorized to some other email, okay? Let's see how it works with WatchGuard. Because I don't have access to Sony.com, of course, but I have access to WatchGuard.com. Also, it's important that here on the UI, we say that we have like 258 accounts exposed, but here we don't list the credentials that were exposed. We just list the breaches, but we don't know which emails are part of these breaches. Only the report sent to someone from the domain is gonna show the list, okay? So you're a service provider, you're talking to a prospect. This prospect is WatchGuard.com. You're trying to sell MFA to WatchGuard.com. And you say, okay, you have a couple of breaches. There was one breach last year, and you have like 258 accounts. So you really need to have MFA to protect your VPNs, your access to your data. And I can send you a complete report with more details, and you can take a look and think a little bit about using MFA to protect this. Okay, so what is the account that is the owner of your domain? In this case, I'm gonna use hostmaster here because I have access to this for testing purposes. And after hostmaster approves, I'm gonna send this report to someone that I'm talking to, I'm trying to sell to, Fabio at WatchGuard.com, okay? So when I send here, it's gonna send the authorization request to this email, and after it's authorized, it's gonna send the report to Fabio. Let's see here, and let me open here. So I need to have access to the hostmaster account. I need to log in again here. As I'm on the VPN, I'm using safe location, so I'm fine. And here on OFC. So here I have the hostmaster account. So suppose I'm the IT responsible for that, and I received here the email. Let me double click. That's not opening. So I received the request to authorize the report on this account. And like I said, it's just an authorization request, and I can approve the request to send the report to myself, attach it to the host master, or I can send the report, approve to send the report to fabio.mansur at WatchGuard.com. Okay, so in this case, I say, okay, I know that Fabio was talking to someone about MFA, and he wants to receive this report. I approve that he's going to receive this report. So I click here and opens the same confirmation page we had for the individual email search. And when I click here, the report is going to be sent to fabio.mansur at watchguard.com. So let Let's wait for it to arrive here.
So while we wait, this is the most complex part. Like after this, it's pretty much right. Like everything else is going to sound super easy. But so, and I think the main thing to keep in mind is how this is basically like an experience that involves three people, right? It starts with the partner, and then the partner has their customer in mind, who is the target, right? Like that's the person he or she wants that report to be delivered to. But the verification step involves the role of that IT admin, which may complicate or compromise the delivery of the report. So I think from the partner side, if there is a possibility that the partner actually knows, or like obviously if they're the ones managing the services for them, then that's going to be super easy to know who gets to approve the delivery of the report. But that's important for us to sort of like convey to the partner that they need to alert IT, or they even need to alert their end customer, say like, hey, I found, I was doing this search and I found that you guys at Sony have like over 2,000 records that involve being exposed in data breaches. So I want to send you a report, but we do need IT authorizations. So just like connected. So like I would say just over communication in this process is super key, because otherwise the partner might feel stuck, that they are trying to send these reports and it's not working. So I'm happy to hear your ideas or questions around that, or just keep in mind that should be part of how we train our partners about the tool.
Okay. So it's taking a couple of minutes to arrive. Let's open the same report I had earlier. So the same thing. So the reports, the email is pretty much similar for the individual report. So it has some description here talking about off point, and here, that's the important part, is the attached PDF. So now it's a search for the domain, watchguard.com. There's some description here. The same summary that we had in the UI, 11 data breaches, 258 accounts, and 2019 was the most recent one. And then the same description for each breach that we have on the UI. And the difference, like I said, is that here we have the list of the emails that are part of the breach. These do not show up on the UI, so the service provider do not have access to that. He only can send this to someone in the domain. And so someone on the domain, watchguard.com, can take a look at that and say, oh my God, like all of those people, like Prakash here in the middle, I don't know, I won't show you if he's here or not. And so it's important for them to know, okay, so all these guys are part of the breach, and I need to protect them somehow, probably using MFA, probably using null point, right? Mm-hmm. So these are the flows. It's the same flow for the subscriber, but like I said, subscriber can only search for their own domains. Here I can look for any domains, considering that to send the results, you need to have approval from someone that's responsible for the domain. And you're not allowed to do like gmail.com domain search, but you can search specific emails like mansour.dive@gmail.com. There are no Brits for this one. But for Yahoo, you cannot search yahoo.com, but you can scan, like we said, fmansour@yahoo.com, like I showed you. Okay. And another important part is that everything that you do here, every search that you do is audit. So we have audit logs for those. And so this is also some protection to say, okay, we send this search, a search for the domain watchguard.com, and it was authorized by this email, hostmaster@watchguard.com. So we have audit logs also to cover this part, okay? And here for my fmansour@yahoo.com, for example. And we also have the audit logs for all of this, okay? So that was it in terms of demo. There are two questions here on the chat.
Yep, I was just going to say Daniel and Eleanor just posted questions.
Yeah, how our system knows the authorized email to send. Well, this is a fixed list of emails. This was discussed with Mark and Corey and the IT team. They came up with this list of 40 emails: security, webmaster, hostmaster, and the other one. And one of these four should be the owner of the domain. So it's a fixed list. We don't know. So like Sam mentioned, it's important to have this in mind. And when you're talking to your prospect, say, okay, someone from your IT team will need to authorize. So who is responsible for these emails? Can you talk to them and let them know? And they can approve and forward. Otherwise, you're not going to receive the report. Okay.
Right, and I will add a little more to that, Daniel. So this is pretty standard. So like those 4 emails that are, some services call them the predefined email addresses. These are pretty standard within the IT organization in a company. So at least one of those should be an active email account that they use to, as the administrators of domains of that company. And so if you went and compare with those other services that I highlighted in the beginning, like Spy Cloud or Have I Been Pwned, they use a similar verification process and they use the same 4 emails: hostmaster, webmaster, the other 2,
security
and yeah, those 4 are sort of like this standardized email addresses. Some companies have all 4 email accounts active. So like in our case, when we were going through all of these changes, so I did this internal exercise with our own IT department. And so it turns out they had multiple, they had hostmaster, they had webmaster. And so because they knew that we wanted to use that for testing purposes, they assigned us to the hostmaster account. But that's a pretty common like practice. So we should assume that any company should have at least one of those email accounts as an active account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the other one is about the after 1 hour expiring the email. We don't have any auto trigger. So it's if they open the email after 1 hour, it's gonna say that it was expired and they need to do the flow again or do the search again. Okay, so there is no reminder or auto trigger for that, at least now. We can always improve that later. Okay.
Are there any other questions? Great. So I'm going to go back to share my screen so that we can look at some more like interesting information on how we want to use the tool and how we want to promote it. So, because this is mainly a great sales tool that it's available in WatchGuard Cloud, we want partners to use this to raise awareness among their existing and potential customers with data from real breaches that involves their company domains and their employee credentials. So in some cases, you like in Fabio's example of the Sony.com, you might even, or partners might even realize that there's been a recent breach in which that company was involved in, which is a great opportunity to sell the value of MFA, right? Here are some important reminders based on everything that we have discussed and how the tool works, right? So as we talk to partners about this and as we do the training with them, it's super important that they embrace the habit of maybe following up with IT teams so that they know to look for that confirmation email so that it's easier to ensure that that personalized report will be delivered to the end user. For better delivery results, verify the right authorized email address before sending the report confirmation email. So this goes back to Daniel's question and what we were talking about, the option for the 4 email accounts. If the partner knows which one is the active email account, then they are saving a bunch of steps in trying to then send in failed verifications emails to accounts that are not active. Just a reminder about how the link in the confirmation email is only valid for 1 hour. And then those 4 email accounts listed just for everyone's, you know, so you can keep those in mind.
So just another comment, Sam. It's interesting to check the domain before. For example, you have a meeting with a prospect and he's like abcd.com. And so do a search on abcd.com before the meeting, because it might find no results, for example. It should be kind of, you know, a frustrating experience if you're selling the tool and saying a lot of, and then there are no results, no breeds found. So of course, if you know that before, you can have a different speech with the customer and you can show other domains. And remember that we also don't have all the breeds available here. We only have the breeds available that are freely available on the dark web. So I'm not sure if Sam has a slide talking about this, but we don't pay for breeds to put in our database. We don't finance the hackers or things like that. So there might be other breeds that are not freely available on the dark web that can be, their domain can be part of. So not having a result here on the dark web tool does not guarantee 100% that's not breached any other breach, you know.
I'm making some notes here to add these comments to the slide, Fabio.
Yeah, I think it's nice.
Okay. And about the question on the how we don't pay for, we don't buy any information involved in data breaches. I know it's in the frequently asked questions, but I can tell that Alex had put his hands on this training deck because of all the animation. So let me see. Yeah, here it is. So I knew that it was in the FAQ. So here are the top questions, but I really do encourage you to browse, even though it's a very dense document, to browse through the FAQ so that you can get familiar with some of the philosophy behind all the responsibly actions that were taken in terms of data protection, and then also to find things like this, right? So we are not using a third-party provider. This is 100% WatchGuard. So big credit and props to Corey and Mark's team for building the database environment, and the engineering team for building the tool. And back to Fabio's comment, we only show publicly available breaches that involve passwords. We don't capture breaches that have any other type of information like credit cards, IDs, and any of that stuff. And we don't purchase breach databases. So only data that comes from publicly available breaches. And then here's a quick look at some of the resources that we are working on so that partners have plenty of content available so that they can learn about the tool and sell with the tool. So right now we are in the training phase, and I should say internal training phase. So we are working on, before we go live and before we start promoting resources among partners, we want everyone internally to be trained on the tool, to learn about it, so that by the time partners have questions about something, it'll be more likely that we will have answers for them. And then starting on the 27th, on August 27th, these are some of the resources that will be available in the MCK. So we are creating an on-demand demo recording. So it's basically what you guys saw, but it's probably going to be edited and it's going to be more condensed, so it's easier for partners to watch. There is already a help center article that lists all of the steps and instructions so that you can successfully browse through and use the tool. There will be a quick demo for subscribers. So we wanted to create a short video that partners can use so that they can send them to their end users who have access to WatchGuard Cloud and say, hey, here's a new tool that WatchGuard developed and here's how you can use it. The FAQ, and then, there's other things like the pitch deck, the banner ads, email signature, and email templates. These are all resources that, as we do the demos among partners, as we join the live Q&A or the monthly partner product updates for partners, we want to explain that these are all resources that are created from the perspective of a partner so that they can use it. For example, with a pitch deck, if they wanted to host a live webinar, right, to kind of to promote the new tool or to try to raise awareness on MFA, that's how they could use the pitch deck, and so on. Same with the email template. And this is what I already talked about. So right now we are in the sales enablement phase. So between now and August 20th, we'll do all the internal training. Look out for the Livewire post tomorrow. Also, if you go in the WatchGuard Cloud, you will see a cloud alert that the tool is now available. And you will see a homepage banner tomorrow on the partner portal that's going to link to that Help Center article and the product blog. And then everything else will follow starting August 27th. And I'll probably join an upcoming FireSync just to share all of the assets once they are live. And I think that's it. That's all we have for you guys today. Any questions?
Yeah, there was one about if it's possible to send reports to the 2 different email addresses. Currently, no, but it's a nice suggestion. I like it, the idea. Okay. And I'll take a note and add this to the backlog as an improvement. Okay.
Awesome. We already have some good stuff coming up in upcoming tool updates, right? For the audit logs and stuff. Fabio?
Yeah, we have the future of this product. We see this in the future like a monitoring tool also, because like I said, today there is no breach for the domain, but next month it can be part of a breach, and right. Someone is not going to be constantly looking for here just to check like monthly or whatever. So we want to build this as a dark web scan monitoring tool. So once it's some email or some domain appears on a new breach, it's going to notify someone actively, and we also want to integrate this with the password manager in the mid-term future here, and we're going to have the password manager for AuthPoint, and we can also check for the passwords that are generated, or passwords that customers are using, if they are part of the breaches or not. So we have some nice integrations coming in the future,
Hi, thank you, Fabio. I have a question, right? So will we be able to trace, suppose a certain domain has been scanned like maybe twice or thrice? We have a lot of service providers and everyone is like taking care of each other's accounts, right? There are a lot of competitive thing around here. So will we be able to trace if, let's say, as what to refer to, let's say, Fabio's demo sample, right? Sony.com. Maybe it's only not company A who seek to scan Sony.com, but there is also company B and C. I mean, service provider B and C. Will we be able to trace that?
What do you mean by trace? I'm not sure if I understood the question.
Okay, let's say that the end user, the subscriber is Sony.com, right? But Sony being big, I believe they have tons, or maybe they have maybe 10 suppliers or 10 service providers, and maybe service provider A already did a scan for them, and then also service provider B wanted to do same things for your third service provider. Could we be able to trace that, or would we be able to see that?
So do you mean like if we can track if one service provider is looking for, or several service providers are looking for the same company domains?
Yes. If they have requested for scan for that particular domain.
What we have is audit logs for each account that did this search. So like I showed in the demo, I'm a service provider and I did the search for Sony.com. And when I do the search and show in the screen, but I don't send the report, there is no audit log. The audit log is generated when I click to send the report or to authorize the report to be sent to someone. But this audit log is on my own service provider account. So I'm a service provider A, I did the search and I send the report. It's gonna record audit log in my account of service provider A. If someone is a service provider B and is doing the same search, it's going to generate audit log on their own account.
Right, but
we
can
don't
we
have
look at
visibility
a
from
global?
who.
Can
Yes.
Yeah, we
WatchGuard
don't have
see it?
this
No.
visibility. No.
We would have to go into each service provider account and look at what their audit logs look like, right? And then
Yeah, but we don't have access to that. It's each individual account. So why do you think this is important? Just for me to understand why you're asking this.
Yeah, because you know, customers they have their preferences, right? Subscribers they have their preferences to work with the service providers. So let's take that the authorized is maybe hostmaster at Sony.com, right? Maybe they have their preference who they wanted to work with. Same thing if it's security at Sony.com, they might also have their own preference. Which service provider they are closer and they are, you know, much comfortable working with.
Okay. Yeah, because we don't have visibility of the search, because each account has their own data and we as WatchGuard don't have access to them, and the subscriber also do not have visibility of the data of their search providers. So I think this would be like managed by the calls and meetings that they are actually having about this, you know.
Okay. Thanks for that. Yeah.
So
okay, I
another
do think,
question.
you know, Eleanor, these are great feedback. I think, and as the tool launches, this is part of the conversation, right? To really look at what it becomes and how people are using it, and any of these needs that emerge, then I think the idea would be to bring it back to the product team and then see if there is, you know, if there's opportunity now or in the future to then start to optimize the tool in that direction. But thank you for thinking outside of like how we can use this also to understand performance, right? And how partners interact with their end users. And yeah, I think that's really
I mean,
good.
especially if each one of the service providers is going to give the report. I know that every scan is different result every time, right?
Right.
Because obviously every day someone is browsing something,
Well,
is doing something differently.
Right? But it could be the same, you know, like that's why Fabio had a good suggestion in saying before you like talk to your customer, right? Take a look at their company, search for their company domain. There might be no results. There might be email addresses like he showed that have not been involved in the last 6 months in any data breaches. Or to in the Sony example, as soon as, you know, as early as April of this year, they were involved in a data breach. So that will fluctuate depending on the level of exposure or the risk for that one company, and that's the value, right? Like you may check today and there might be nothing, but check next month and you might see, right, like that they were involved in a recent breach.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And then
there's an interesting question.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
So, well, I don't think our tool can resolve this, Daniel, because you're talking to some subsidiary and they don't have access to the main company. I think it's, well, maybe the WatchGuard.com search maybe could solve this, because about time zones, the end user could potentially do the search by himself at any time. So yeah, I don't have an answer on the tool for this. I think the best way is to understand, like Sam mentioned before, or in the beginning of the meeting or the conversation, understand their, like how their IT department or responsibles proceed like this. If they need to open a ticket or something like that, and they could understand the best way to manage this. And if you're talking to someone in a different time zone and you don't have like someone available to search the email, maybe they can provide an access to one of these emails like they did here in WatchGuard for us. Actually, Sam went after Jason Ruiz's team, and he actually just allowed us to have access to the email. Say, okay, right, you're doing tests, so you can access the email. And they can like do this for a couple of days and then revoke this. Maybe this could be an option. I don't see a way to how to solve this using the tool itself, you know.
Yeah.
Fabio, how about let's say we don't do the authorized email path, but we send the email to someone who have access to the email and ask them to forward to the recipient instead of authorization, then we do not have that 1 hour expiry, right?
Well, the host master can download for himself, but the first email will always go to host master or security or one of those fours. So if someone in for one of those 4 emails access and downloads the report within 1 hour, it's fine, and it can forward to anyone. But okay, but the page to authorize is only, or not to authorize, the page to download the report or to confirm to download the report is only valid for 1 hour.
Oh, okay.
And if we have issues on the field, you know, we put like 1 hour as a security measure. Right. But if we start seeing limitations or restrictions or problems with this, we can always discuss to increase this, you know.
I was just going to say,
like, okay, let's start with 1 hour.
I was going to say, keep an eye on partner feedback, right? And keep us posted. We might do like a follow-up, I don't know, after the tool has been live for a quarter. And then if the time that the verification emails and links are valid is too short because we're getting that response from the partners, I was just going to say, maybe that's something we consider as an improvement.
Yep.
And then Daniel, I also wanted to confirm, because when you were talking about, well, can we send it to an email address? So the only time that you can successfully send a report directly to an email address, it has to be, the report is only going to be about that one email account. And so let's say that you, Daniel, have access to WatchGuard Cloud, and you want to search for Fabio's email because you know he's your end user, and like you kind of want to get him started on a conversation about the importance of MFA. So you can definitely search for Fabio's email, but then the send button will only allow you to send it to Fabio directly. You couldn't send it to yourself, or you couldn't send it to anyone else but Fabio. And that, you know, that's all the whole legal stuff involved, right? Like that's the responsible way to use that personal data.
Okay. So I'm thinking of something like, can we have certain summary information, not the detailed one, so that we know that we are sending meaningful information to a customer rather than sending to them, but then when they open it up, they don't see something that is useful. Something like we say that maybe certain password is compromised in the summary, then we know that this is important, we need to send to the customer.
Yeah, if there's a breach in the UI when you do the search, that is meaningful, and that's going to be sent on the report. So when you do the search on the screen, if you find some breach here on the screen, it's the same breach that's going to be sent on the PDF report. The difference is that on the PDF report for the domain, we send the list of the emails that are breached, and on the personal email, we just send the password that was compromised. But the breaches itself, the same ones you see on the UI are the ones that you see in the report. So if you do, like I said, if you're talking to a customer and you do a search and there are no results, it means that they don't have, they are not present on any data breach that we have in our database. So like I said, this would not be meaningful for the user, but you can see this on the UI when you do the search.
Yeah, because sometimes when we search, they will tell you when is the breach based on the date. But sometimes the customer may see that, oh, okay, it is not near. Maybe a very old data to them is maybe my password is already changed. But then if let's say I have a certain information, say this page, there's a summary, say maybe password or something, some summary, but not to the detail. So we know that we send it to the customer, we will see some result, or for example. Or if let's say they do not have the access to the main domain, they will try their best to actually approach and their postmaster to get the information because they are concerned, right? This is something I feel, because if not, then they may think that if I don't see it, I don't care. But if let's say they see certain summary, say, okay, this incident at this date and time, summary, maybe some email password being compromised, for example, rather than just say showing the incident at the web page that we search.
Well, I'm not sure I understand, because if a breach shows up on the result, it means that the password of that email was compromised. Like Sam mentioned, we just store breaches that have passwords that are compromised. So any breach that shows up as a result on the search, on the UI, or in the same, on the UI or PDF reports, they're the same. It's a credential that's compromised, you know?
Yeah, but sometimes people may think that it's not, they may be using the email, but the password may not be the same as the password of the company. And the other thing is they will think that, like, for example, certain incidents it may be, like, say, hotel is being compromised, but to them it's like, I'm using my email account, but not the same password to register for an account in this hotel, for example. But the hotel is being compromised, but not my email or my data being compromised. You know where I come from?
Yeah. But if you're looking for a domain, for example, you're gonna see which emails are compromised or not. And if the email is compromised, the password is compromised. So of course, if the password, if he has good password practices, like I don't use the same password in different accounts, I don't use the same password in my different services or things like that. So one breach that is at my hotel or something will not affect my other services. That's great, that's fine, but who can really guarantee that passwords are not being reused, or at least someone is trying to hack that account, you know? I think at least you have something to start a conversation, because if a breach appears there, I would be worried to say, no, I'm not comfortable to say my password is unique and I don't care about this breach. It's safe that I'm not using this anywhere else, so I'm okay. So I'm not okay. If I have, for example, here on my personal breach, I have like LinkedIn password breach, and my LinkedIn account a couple of years ago, even it was an old breach, I used to reuse the same password before, and potentially that password is being is available for other people, you know. So I changed my password, and at least it's alert for the people to be aware and to start using MFA, because, you know, passwords are not safe. I think this summarizes everything. So
yes.
Only passwords does not protect you from anything.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, well, we're a little over, so we have to drop off, but thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to follow up with a recording of the demo, and then again, look out for the product blog and the Livewire post, and then once we launch, feel free to follow up with us. Once the resources for partners are available, let us know if there's anything else that you need. You know, if you're running a particular campaign, reach out if you need help with anything, okay? In case you don't see what you need in the resources. Thank you again, and reach out if you have questions.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Fabio.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.